Melancholies respond to very few people with a need to associate in surface relationships because they want to associate with very few selected people. They will become very uncomfortable in large groups. They do not volunteer for social functions because they really don't want to be there. Individuals always have different needs and priorities. We look at this wife and husband. We're going to look at them in the three areas of inclusion, control, and affection. This wife is a melancholy in inclusion. She's a melancholy compulsive in control, and a melancholy in affection. Just so you get a good understanding of what I'm saying, is that the National Christian Counselors Association measuring tool breaks down the client in three areas when the test is given. Inclusion is your people person, people area rather. Control is the area where you try to be in control of your own life, your own affairs, or some of the temperament try to be in control of other people. The affection area mainly has to do with your significant other. Her husband is a melancholy, just like her, in inclusion. In control, he's a choleric. And in his affection, he is a sanguine. Totally different, opposites of each other right here. Bear in mind that melancholies are task-oriented people. They're not relationship-oriented people. They relate to tasks more than how they would relate to relationship. Melancholies are one of the strongest temperaments of the five, but they always think downward thoughts, always think that they're not good enough. And this is definitely not true. Melancholies are great thinkers. They think a lot, and your thinking can be a positive and it can be a negative. Because when you're thinking downward thoughts, you're going to see downward things. There's a story that's told of two men who were in the same prison cell. Both of them would look through the same window each day. One always looked down. And when he looked down, he sees mud, he sees garbage, he sees things that are really not encouraging to the eyes, and it makes him depressed. The other one always look up. He sees the clouds, he sees the stars, he sees the beauty of God's creation. And so it makes him always a upper person. He's always, happy and joyful, although he was in prison. And both of these men looking through the same window, they're in the same cell, looking through the same place, but they're seeing different things. If a melancholy learn to change their thinking process, instead of looking down on themselves and start looking up, a lot of things, that would have changed a lot of things in their lives. Let's look at the melancholy in inclusion. Again, this is her people area. Melancholy needs. She needs quiet time, minimal socialization, independence, financial security, truth, order, reliability, and dependability. These are needs, not wants. These are needs of the melancholy. Melancholy must have quiet time every day. When they get home from work, they need to get into a place where they can, just rejuvenate and get their energy back. Not getting into the house and kick their shoes off and get to the bathroom and come back out and start working. They are going to be snapping at everybody. because they're miserable. They need time to sit back for a little bit, a few minutes, maybe take a nap if possible, and so when they get up, they're good to go. So they need their quiet time every day. Minimal socialization. They don't need a lot of people, and so if you try to force them into that crowd, you're going to have a very unhappy camper. All right, they need their independence. They don't need for you to invade their space or try to tell them what to do and things like that. They need financial security. These are things that they're not wants, they are needs for the melancholy. They need truth, especially from their significant other. They need truth, they need order, they need reliability and dependability. And they are the temperament of perfection. They love perfection. Okay? Let's look at the strengths of a melancholy. We just saw the needs. Now let's look at the strength. Melancholies are thinkers, they're artistic, they're genius, they understand tasks and systems, they can see pitfalls, they're task oriented, and these are great strengths of a melancholy. Great, great strengths. Let's go further. Let's go into the inclusion weakness, because where there's strengths, there are always weaknesses. They're extremely moody, easily depressed, bottle up their anger, find it hard to trust people, destructive to self and others, set high standards, suicidal tendencies, and low self-esteem. These are weaknesses of a melancholy. Inclusion weaknesses. One of the things that, if you know, when we talk to melancholies, is to try to get them to get out of that moody feelings every day when they just, it's like the cloud outside, they just get dull and moody and you're not sure what's wrong with them. They can't even tell you what's wrong with them. They get easily depressed. Any little thing that things not going their way, they fall into depression very easily. They bottle up their anger. They don't let it go. They hold on to that anger for a long, long time, and maybe it end up hurting somebody else. So we try to get them to let go, empty the bottle, just release it, and trust the Lord, and just move forward with their lives. They find it hard to trust people, very hard to trust people. They're destructive to self, they set high standards, they have suicidal tendencies, not the Christian ones now. Those outside of the Christian faith, they will commit suicide if they, if things not going well. They are definitely suicidal temperament. All right, low self-esteem. They suffer from that a lot. I want to look at this melancholy in a compulsive area, compulsive in control. She is melancholy compulsive in this area, and that kind of changes her life pattern. Now, because she is a very extreme individual, everything has to be perfect. Perfectionism is something that melancholy compulsive seeks for, wait for. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be in order. Extreme order, not just order, but extreme order. Thirdly, extreme neatness. And just think for a minute. This lady is married to a husband, a man who is a choleric. And a choleric is a very strong, powerful individual. As a matter of fact, the most powerful of the 5 temperaments, because he is the man in charge. Because you cannot dictate to a choleric. He has the answer. He must lead. He must tell you what to do. And when you look at this compulsive melancholy, with all of these extreme things that she's portraying, he's mad, he's upset because then, for example, he may come home, just take off his shoes. He's tired, work all day, put his shoes down. She said, "No, you can't put your shoes there." And, he move it to some place. "No, you can't put it there either." And he's getting upset. I'm like, "Well, if I can't put it there, I can't put it there. Where do I put my shoes?" So simple things like those. It's just the extremity of, this temperament but under the compulsive melancholy, it does things like these. Everything has to be to the extreme. There's never enough where they're concerned. Okay? You've heard of extreme things like, compulsive drinker, compulsive smoker, things like those. What that is that people go overboard and they're never satisfied. They just keep more and more and more, and never enough. She's married to a choleric husband. She has some great strengths. Good decision maker, great leadership abilities, strong-willed, economical, serious, independent, to appear competent and in control, and to work with tasks. Now, she's married to someone who is, as I said before, a powerful leader. Someone who is tough-minded, someone who is good at decision making, someone who takes on responsibility, someone who completes the job, and someone who is very charming. So you find that there is going to be a clash here, because the choleric is going to misread this melancholy temperament because of the things that he sees in her. She's making great decisions, and the choleric, he admires these things. Don't kid now. He admires these things. He admires people who make good decisions. He admires people with great leadership abilities and things like that. But only when he gives the order, only when he says, this is what you should do, this is how you should be, things like those. So if you can obey his orders, go by his rules, then he loves you. Okay? Here it is that she is portraying all of these traits, and she's not doing it because she's competing with him. She's doing it because that's who she is. She is good at decision making, but he will misread her in her leadership abilities. He will misread her because then I am the leader, and leaders lead. And so I'm the one leading this family, not her. And so he's misreading her, and a lot of things start to happen in this relationship. Without proper professional counseling, these two are always going to be butting heads. Always. So that's where counseling is very, very important when it comes to, before you get married, get some counseling. And even when you get married, get counseling. All right? Let's move on. Let's look at her control weaknesses. Rigid, inflexible, sensitive to failure, fear of the unknown, angry, cruel, vengeful. These are weaknesses, control weaknesses of a melancholy. It's not easy to bend a melancholy because they're very stubborn, they're almost as stubborn as the phlegmatic, and that upsets the choleric. I mean, he is mad because, again, you're stepping into his area where he is supposed to be in control. And so when he sees these weaknesses, he just calls you weak, and he don't deal well. Cholerics don't work well with weak people. He works with strong people because he utilizes their strength. And so if you're weak, he's going to throw you under the bus. Let's look at affection needs. 1, love and affection, deep personal relationships. Choleric has needs like everybody else. They need love, they need affection, and deep personal relationship. If you are not offering what they expect, then you can run into a little difficulty, because then their expectation is that you're going to love them. The thing is that they express their love in a different way. They express their love by doing tasks. When the choleric would say, I love you, it's hard for the melancholy to say those words sometimes, because they express their love in a different way. They do things. They try to please you in every way, but not verbally. They rarely say, I love you. I'm not saying they won't say it, but they rarely say it by words. Affection strengths of melancholy. They're self-sacrificing. They have the ability to make deep commitment. Melancholies will sacrifice for you. If they love you and they trust you, they will make sacrifices. I mean, real sacrifices for you. That's who they are. Affection weaknesses. Again, wherever their strengths, they're always weaknesses. They're jealous, critical to others, dissect the past, emotionally guarded, rarely express their feelings. If they initiate, it is on their terms at all times. If they initiate, it's on their terms. Let's look at jealousy for a minute, because here it is that this husband, he is now a sanguine in the affection area. Mark you, he's a melancholy in inclusion, he's a choleric in control, and he is a sanguine in affection. A sanguine is a people person, a person who likes to kiss, likes to hug, likes to, likes body to body type thing. That's a sanguine. This melancholy wife, she's a very jealous person, and whatever she sees with her eyes, she will put the meaning, and most time the meanings are wrong. So let's say this melancholy goes out with her sanguine husband, and he's associating with some people, maybe hugging people and talking up to them, things like that, having a good time. The melancholy, she steps back, she's not getting in the conversation, things like that, and right away some things just start running through her head, because jealousy is a very terrible thing. And so she's really jealous of her husband, for all the things that he's doing, and she's not able to do it. Maybe that's one of the main reasons. I'm not able to do that. I wish I was able to do some of what he was doing, but it's not her. She's a melancholy, and melancholy don't really do those things. They do what they have to do, what they must do. They don't do anything that anybody would like them to do. All right? Jealous, they're critical of others, they dissect the past, they go back into past experiences, past pains, past hurts, and all those things, and rip it apart, and sometimes just get themselves down into the gutter because of their thinking process. They're thinking again. They're emotionally guarded, always have their walls up. You don't push down the walls of a melancholy. Those walls are strong. They are emotionally guarded. There's a big problem with melancholies, is that they rarely express their feelings, and they expect you to read their mind. You should know what I'm thinking, how I'm thinking. You should know what I want, and this is not possible. So this is something that melancholies need to learn to express their feelings. Number 6, if they initiate, it's always on their terms. They awfulize a lot. It's awful if I'm rejected. People drive me crazy, and so they awfulize, and they have low frustration tolerance. In other words, they say, I can't stand not having money. I can't stand disorganized people. Nobody cares. Nobody loves me. I have to do everything. It is awful when people don't live up to their standards. Things like those. So melancholy can be a very troubled temperament, but at the same time, beautiful temperament. Depends on their level of consciousness where the Lord is concerned. And if they're depressed, they're depressed. But if they're happy in their way. Let's look how how melancholy deal with stress for a minute. How do they deal with stress? They will probably try to find excuses to get out of attending a social function. They would rather stay home enjoying their quiet time, reading, researching, doing chores, etc. They will be stressed if they feel pressured to be out partying with a crowd. The more they are pushed, the more they will rebel and the more stressed they will be. In order for melancholy not to be stressed, they will need to select the events they really need to attend, not want to attend, but need to attend. The truth is that they don't want to attend anything, but there's some things that they need to attend, and send regrets for the ones they will not be attending. Let's look at forgiveness. How do they deal with forgiveness? Of all the 5 temperaments, the melancholy is the hardest to forgive anyone. They cannot understand why people should even make such mistakes. The standards they set are always so high that they themselves cannot live up to them. But there's something very powerful here. Melancholy says when the melancholy is totally surrendered to the Lord, they can do wonders in the kingdom of God. I'm going to close out with this slide with some counseling tips. And melancholies must learn to control their thinking. We all control our thinking. Our thinking do not control us. You are not a bad person, just a person with strengths and weaknesses and a person who makes mistakes like everybody else. So focus on changing your weaknesses. You need quiet time to regenerate after a long day. Examine your career choices. Maybe you need to consider going back to school to enhance your skills. It will help you get you out of the downward feelings that you feel, because then it's going to take you to another level and you'll feel better about yourself. Because you are more comfortable working with tasks and systems, I would say seek employment where there are less people. Examine your need for perfection from yourself and others. That's not easy to attain. Examine your fear of rejection. Not everybody are going to accept, approve, and validate you. Number 9, try to be an initiator sometimes. It will add spark to your relationship. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And one of the main things that melancholies need to do is learn to forgive. It is so hard sometimes to forgive someone, but melancholies, you can do it. You can do it. If there's anybody you need to forgive, forgive them. It will make your life much lighter, your days much better, and your years more productive. God bless you. Until next time, don't do something permanently stupid because you're temporarily upset. Invite your friends to watch. Please subscribe.